Hello everyone. In today's video we will be covering all of the T1 cases and its derivatives for the OLL step of solving the cube. There's two T cases that you can possibly get. You have and it's called a T case because it's got a T on the top. And you can either have headlights or two bars on each side. And what this video will cover is the headlights version and all of its derivatives. And there's a lot of combination solves that you can do. So let's get started. So this is your T case, and it's easily recognizable because there's two cases where you have a T on the top, and in one of them you will have headlights, and on the other one you will have two bars. So you have a bar here and you have a bar on the other side here. And what we're going to be discussing in this video is all of the ones where you have the headlight cases. And how you solve this case is the same process you get to go from a line to a cross or a J to a cross when you're solving your last four edges. And this is, you perform an F move, and then basically you're doing a sexy move on this pair. So just do a sexy move on that pair, and then undo your F move, and that will solve that case. And how you would perform this is you just regrip F, sexy move, and then push up with your thumb to undo your sexy move. So again, here's your T case, it's the headlights, so you're going to grab here, F, sexy move, undo the F move. So that's the basic T1 case. And this one at speed. So now that we know how to solve that T1 case, that allows us to solve a whole bunch of other cases just by using a derivation of that. One of the first ones that allows us to solve is this case. So it's one of your P cases. And this one's easy to recognize because you'll have your P case, it looks like a P. And then on the other side you'll have a straight bar. So you'll either have a P with a bar, or you'll have a P with like one or two here. So you won't have a bar here. So this allows you to solve the P case with a bar. And how you would do that is if you do the same thing, but you do the fat version of it. So you organize it like this. So you have your bar on the side, then you have your square, and then we're going to do a fat F move. And then we're going to sexy move this corner. And then we're going to undo our fat F move. So again, we'll fat, sexy move, unfat. Fat, sexy move, fat. And that's all we're doing. It's the same movements. That'll solve your case. So that solves the P case. So you have your P case, and you have your bar on the side. You want to grab the whole square and push it down, and then sexy move your corner, and then undo your square. That also works on the left-hand side, or the left-hand version of it. So here's your P case. So this is your P case. But we need to push it down in a way that we're moving both the entire block. So we're rotating the entire block. So we'll rotate the entire block, perform a sexy move on this corner, and then undo your F move, and that solves your case. And then your P case at speed. Another case this allows you to solve is the case number 21 from the Speed Solving Wiki, where you have it's H case, where you have your headlights here and your headlights here. Really the best way to do this one is to do the double anti-soon and cancel a couple moves out. You can see that in my edges oriented video and my soon video. But another way to solve this particular case is if you perform a F move and then do three sexy moves. 1, 2, 3, and then undo that move, and that will solve your case. So again, the H case is just F move, three sexy moves, and then undo your H case, and that will solve that case. And that's pretty easy to remember and relatively quick. So the next couple cases we're going to cover are actually cycles of the F sexy move F prime. And you'll notice that if you do F sexy move F prime, it gives you a certain case. And if you do it again, it'll give you another case. And if you do it again, it'll give you another case. So it takes 6 cycles to fully cycle this case around. And once we know that, what that allows us to do is to look at the case that's to from, and it'll allow us to solve this case. So there's 6 cycles, so if we do F and then just 4, and then we'll find this case. So this is one of our L cases, and this is case number 48 and 47 from the Speed Solving Wiki. And since we just did it 4 times, we know 2 more times will solve this case. And this one's easy to recognize because it's an L case, and then you'll have your headlights, and you won't have a bar. So you'll either have a L case or a J case, and you'll have a bar with headlights here, or you have a bar with 2 on the side. Well, this one doesn't have a bar, so it's kind of easy to recognize. It's the J case that does not have a bar, and it's got headlights on the side. And what we're going to do is we're going to perform our F sexy move, F prime, on this little set of pieces here. So we'll do an F move. So we're basically leaving this alone, and we're pointing the headlights to the left or the right, and then we're leaving our J alone. So we'll do a F move, and then we know that 2 sexy moves and then undo your F move will solve that case. So again, here's the J case or L case, and then you won't have a bar in the front, you'll just have 2, and what we're going to do is we're going to place the headlights on the side and the J in the back. So you have this little island piece sitting here in the back, so that's got to be in the back, and we're going to push down, so we're going to do our F move along the front face. So we'll do F, 2 sexy moves, and then undo your. So the left-hand version of this is here's our J. So if it lands like this, here's our J. Well, we have to put our J in the back, and then our headlights on the left or the right. So we have to put it like that. So here's our headlights on the right, and then our J's in the back. So here's our little island piece. So we're going to perform our F move on this side, and then 2 sexy moves, and then undo your F move, and that will solve that case. Another one we can solve based on the number of cycles is we can do the same thing for the fat version. So if we do a fat F sexy move F prime, well, that also cycles 6 times. So there's 2, there's 3, there's 4. So we know when we get this one, there's 2 more cycles and it will solve, or it'll orient the last layer. So if we can recognize this case, then we know if we do a fat F move and then 2 sexy moves and undo our fat, that will solve this case. So how do we recognize that case? It's one of your line cases, and this one's kind of easy to recognize because it's a line case, and you'll have 2 bars, and then you'll have headlights. And you're going to perform the fat on the not headlight side. So here's our headlights. So we're going to orient the line like this. So here's a bar, here's a line, and here's our headlights. And we're going to perform a fat F move, and then 2 sexy moves, and then undo our fat, and that will solve that case. So what that looks like on the left-hand side is here's our line, and here's our bar, and here's another bar, and then here's our headlights. So we're going to put our headlights on the side, and we're going to start with the other side of the headlights. So we'll do a fat F move, 2 sexy moves, and then undo your fat, and that will solve that case as well. So another case we can solve is one of our edges oriented case, and the preferred way to do this is where you take it out with the 2, take this one out back here, and then reinsert this, and then you reinsert this one. And I cover that in my edges oriented video. But another easy way to solve this case is if you perform a fat T-Perm. So we set it like this, so we point our headlights away from us, and then so here's one of our blinkers facing us, and we're going to perform a fat T-Perm, and then you notice it gave us a skinny T-Perm, so you just do a skinny T-Perm. So in order to solve that case, have your headlights, and then you can do a fat T-Perm, and then you can do a skinny T-Perm, and that will solve that case. One of the other cases you can solve is very similar to the Fatsoon case. Now, if you've watched my Fatsoon video, this is the Fatsoon case, and it's easy to recognize because you can see that you have a bar here and a bar here. So it's the one with 2 bars, or if you look at your island piece, these 2 items will be on the same field or the same row as your island piece. So here's your island piece, and this yellow piece is directly across from it. Well, in the next case, which is case 11 and 12 from the Speed Solving Wiki, your yellow piece is not across from your island piece. It's actually on the other side, and then you don't have 2 bars. So this one has 2 bars. It's got a bar here and a bar here, and this one has a bar and then a couple individual. So it's another easy way to recognize the Fatsoon case is if you have 2 bars, that's your Fatsoon. And if you don't have 2 bars, that's your case 11 and 12. And how we're going to solve this one is we're going to orient it like this. So the island piece is facing you, and we're going to do a T1 perm, so a F, sexy move, F prime, and then you can tell that gave us another T. We just have to move the face towards you once. and that will solve your case. So how you determine which way you're going to have to move the case is, if you look at the front, your island piece is right here. So after we perform the T case, you can imagine that we're going to have to move the island piece to the other front position. So if our island piece is here, we would have to do our front T-Perm and then move this piece over here. So that means we're going to have to do a U prime instead. So when we have the right-hand version of this, we'll point the lightning bolt towards you with this island piece towards you, and then we'll perform our F, sexy move, F prime, and then without looking, we performed on this end, so we're going to move this end to the other front position. So this is the piece that we had pushed down, so we're going to move that to the other front position, and what that does is that sets up the T-Perm again, so you can do another skinny. So it's skinny, move it over, skinny F. And then you can see this is the fat one. So I don't know how many times this recycles. There we go. Okay, so now we only have one, and we don't have another pair here. And the yellow is not across from our island piece, so we know this is the one that we can solve just with T moves. And it's here, so we're going to perform an F sexy F prime, and then we're going to move this piece here, so we're going to have to do a U move. So F sexy move F prime, U, F sexy move F prime, and that will solve your case. And for the left-hand version, we have our lightning bolt, and you can see we have a pair here, but we don't have a pair here, so that's the case that we can solve just with T-Perms. And if you also look at your island piece, across from it, you do not have your top face here. So on this one, we look across from our island, and here's our top face, so this is fat soon. Well, this is not fat soon because this doesn't match. This isn't a yellow piece here, and you don't have a set of pairs on two sides. So we're going to perform our T1 case on the left-hand side from this position, and then you can tell it gave you a T, but we know that we did it here, so we're going to want to move this piece that we just started on to the other front position, and then that orients it correctly. So mentally, when you're doing this, you know what direction to turn the U face based on where the starting cube was, or starting QB was. So one more time, here's our lightning bolt case. We can tell it's not fat soon, doesn't have the 2, so we'll do F sexy move, and then we know we have to move it this way, so we'll perform our U move as well. So F sexy move, U, F sexy move. So the T1 case also allows us to solve a couple of our dot cases. And the first dot case that you can solve is called the Zamboni, and you'll have a dot and you'll have a solid bar on one end, and you won't have a solid bar in another. You'll have two pairs here. So you have a pair here in the back, you have a pair here in the front, and then you'll have a solid bar on the side. And what we're going to do is we're going to face it like this. So here's our bar on the left hand side, and we're going to perform a T and then a fat T. So just a T, and that gives us the P case, which you can solve with a fat T. So when you get the dot case, if you have a bar, you put it on the left, and then we're going to a skinny and then a fat one. So a skinny one and then a fat one. We'll solve your case. Now I do have to mention that you can always avoid a dot case when you're inserting your last pair. So instead of inserting if you notice you have a dot, instead of inserting your last pair normally, if you just sledgehammer it in, you will always get a J case. So you won't get the dot case. And dot cases typically take a little longer to solve, so you always want to try to avoid getting the dot case. And you can always avoid getting the dot case by changing how you insert your last pair. So if you notice that this is your last pair and you have a dot, well, don't insert it the normal way, because it won't. You need to orient some edges, and if you want to orient some edges, instead of inserting it normally, insert it with a sledgehammer, and that will reorient some edges for you, so you don't have to get a dot case. The T1 case also allows you to solve both of your dot with a single corner oriented cases, and there's only 2 of them, so if you get a case where you have only a dot and then only one of your edges is solved, you can solve it with T cases, and this is actually how I do the main solve. So this isn't a novelty solve, This is actually the way that we solve this case. So what we want to do is we want to place so we have our dot case, and here's the two options. And basically it's a left or right hand version. So you have a dot in a corner, and then you either have the bar here or you have the bar here. So it's just the left or right hand version of it, but we can do them both with right hand versions of the T1 case. And what we're going to do is we're going to place our bar and our oriented edge on the right hand side. So in this case, so for this one, here's our bar and our T, and on this one, here's our oriented edge and our bar. So this is incorrect because our bar is not on our edge. We're going to place it here so we can see the oriented piece on the right hand row and see our bar. So if it lands like this, here's our bar and here's our corner piece. So all three of these pieces need to be on the right hand side. And what we're going to do is we're always going to do a fat T and then a skinny T, and in between those we're going to have to rotate the U face. And the direction that you rotate the U face is relative to the location of the corner piece. So if the corner piece is in the back, we're going to basically move the corner piece to the other right hand side position. So if it's here, it needs to go here, and if it's here, it needs to go here. So what we're going to do is we're going to do a fat T-Perm and then move this oriented piece to where the other right hand side position. So in this case, we know we're going to have to do a fat, and then we're going to have to use a U prime move to move it back here, and then do a skinny T-Perm. On this one, we'll do a fat, and then since this started here, we're going to have to use a U-perm to move it here, and then we'll do a skinny T-perm. So we'll do a fat, and then you can tell that gave us a T case. So and it was here, so we're going to move a U prime to put it in the bag, and then another skinny T case solves the case. So again, if we find a dot, here's our three pieces we care about. So you have the one oriented edge, and then you have a little bar next to it, so it's either here or here. So we'll find those three pieces and we'll put them on the right. We'll look at the location of the oriented piece, and then we know that we're going to do a fat. So both of these you start with a fat, and then if it's in the back, we're going to move it like that to move this in the front. So we'll do a fat, one of those moves, and then a skinny one. So fat, here's our T, and then a skinny. So you know what direction you're going to have to move the case based on where your oriented edge piece is. So if it's in the back here, we know we're going to have to do a U move to move it here, because you want to move it to the other position on the right face. So one more time, when you have a single corner oriented and a dot case, you want to find your bar and put the bar and the oriented corner on the right hand side. We're going to do a fat and then a skinny T-perm, but in between those two we're going to rotate the U face once. And the way that we're going to rotate it is we're going to take where this corner is and put it on the other right position. So in this case we're going to do a U move. So what we're going to do is do a fat, and then I'm not showing you on purpose, and we're going to do a U move because we know the U move, it was going from this back piece, we're going to put it in the front right, and then that gives us our T, and that's solves it. On this one we have a single and a corner, so we'll find the bar and we'll put all three of these on the right hand side. And then since this is in the front, we want to move it to the back, so it's a U prime move in between the T-perms. So we'll do a fat T-perm, and then U prime, and then you can tell this is the case, and it's going to T-perm. So those are all the relatively simple ones that you can solve with just the T-perms. And if you play with it more, so if you do the inverse of, let's say, the fat one, and then do two inverses of the skinny one, well then that gives you a certain case, and then you know to solve this case, do two skinny ones and then a fat one. Now that's probably not the best, most efficient way to do that algorithm, but you can determine other cases to solve just with T-perms, and there's actually quite a few of them, and I don't want to go over every single one of them in this video because I just don't think it adds a lot of value. The ones that we've covered today are ones that are either very, very efficient or the ones that I actually use when solving an OLL step. So that's why I covered those. There are others that you can solve just with the T, fat T, inverses of those, but I don't think they add a lot of value to include those. So the one we just did was two sexy moves and then a fat one. but in that it was a line case with 2 dots on the side. But in that case, there's a better way to solve that. So, and I will cover that in all the line case videos when I go over those. So I intentionally did not include all of the T cases and all the different permutations of all the different cases out there to solve just with the T1 cases. But know that there are, and you can try to find your own. So if you want to do an inverse of this one, and then an inverse, so an inverse of 2 fat ones, and that gives you, oh, okay, well here's this case. And we know after watching our Soon video that this is a combination of some fat Soons will solve this case. But, and that's the most efficient way to do it. But you can also solve that case with some T cases. So I encourage you to play around with the ALKs and try to find your own OLL cases. So the next video I cover will be just the basic T cases from the Speed Solving Wiki, and it will just be these 2 cases. So it'll just be the one that we covered, which is kind of basic, and this one. They're both very simple, but for thoroughness I want to include a separate video that just includes the T cases. If you guys have any questions or comments on this video, leave them in the comment section below, and until then, happy cubing!